snowstorm up in the higher elevations. I'm not sure just where got some snow. We got a fair amount of rain here in Missoula off and on throughout the weekend. But I hope everybody's weekend's going well. We're going to talk about Supergirl today. I went and saw Supergirl last night and I enjoyed it. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today on today's show. Before we do that, just give you a little update. I've been doing the PT. I was up this morning doing some walking that I got to do every other hour. And so did sets of PT exercises. They're still very painful. They're always going to be painful because even if you get a little bit of more motion, you reach that limit where it hurts again. So they're painful every day. Not as painful as they first were. So they are getting better. And I'm just here drinking out of a Mickey's coffee cup. Got this one down at Disneyland one year. And so that's sort of an update on the knee. And then, after I was between doing the exercises and different stuff, I was working on an article for the newsletter. One of the articles I actually even talk a little bit about the knee, since that's been a big influence for the last 6 weeks of my life, or 5.5 weeks, I guess, not 6 weeks yet. But get that newsletter at enjoylifesafely.com. Sign up, download the free stuff, check out the courses, check out the blog posts. I've been putting new blogs at the website. So a lot of good stuff there. So make sure you go do that. Now let's talk a little bit about Supergirl. I'll admit I am a bigger Marvel fan than DC. I've never been as into DC. Growing up, I read more of Marvel comic books. I was a huge fan of Thor and Spider-Man and Hulk and Avengers. They put out the Kung Fu, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. Just was always a big Marvel fan. Never really did much of DC. Then, when they started making movies, I've liked the Marvel movies probably more than the DC movies as well. So I'm telling you that because I don't know a lot of backstory. I don't know a lot about Supergirl, Superman. I mean, I've seen all the movies, but I don't know as much about that universe because I was always more of a Marvel person. So I went to this movie mainly because I knew that Krypto was in it. And the last Superman movie that had Krypto in it, I really liked the dog. The dog was my favorite part, and the dog was my favorite part in this movie too. Now, what I did like is that Supergirl is off on a bender because she went to a planet with a red sun, so she doesn't have the powers that she normally has, so alcohol will affect her. And she's just on a bender and drunk and drinking. But when something happens to the dog, that snaps her out of it, and she's going to do what she has to help her dog. And so I liked that theme part. I also like the revenge theme that's in there with another character. I said I don't want to give spoilers, but I did like that revenge theme and the lesson and the stuff about that. And then it still had a satisfying ending. So I enjoyed the movie. Great effects, some humor here and there. Jason Momoa's in it, and I like him. And when I first saw his name in the credits, I was like, is he going to be guest as Aquaman? Because he was in Aquaman as a DC character, but he didn't play the Aquaman. He was a different character, which is sometimes unusual because often in the superhero movies, you don't get too many actors. There's been a few that play more than one character in that universe. And so Jason has one of those distinguished roles that he has played a couple characters now in the DC universe, which, a few people have been able to do that in the Marvel as well, but they don't do that too often. And he played a good character. He played a fun character, brought some humor and different stuff to it. So it was a fun movie. And again, I thought the scenes with the dog, even though most of them are AI, but they have AI so good now and some of that, the CGI effects, it's hard to tell sometimes. But I really liked the dog that was incorporated into it. And it also gave the origin of Supergirl. She was introduced in the Superman movies, but they really never explained how she got there. This movie, in some flashbacks and different scenes, explain how she got where she is and how she got to Earth and how she adopted crypto. So that origin story is here, blended in with the modern day story of her trying to save the dog and help the dog, and the revenge story with another character. So it's all sort of blended in well, and it was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. So that is my take on Supergirl. Want to say hello to a couple folks. Thad is here and said good morning. Thank you, Thad. I appreciate that. Dixon said spiffy shirt. Thank you, Dixon. Now, if you're watching really close, you will notice Mickey on the shirt, Mickey on the cup, Mickey on the watch. So I got 3 Mickeys today. Special 3 Mickey day. How about that for things? And then Dixon also said, I'm waiting for the Superman franchise to experiment with Bizarro Superman. That ought to be amazing. And I'm not familiar with that character because I don't know the DC universe. But, you know, I do know both the Marvel and DC universes have their different characters, and I mean in different dimensions and all of that. And so be interesting to see. I mean, again, I don't know much about that, but I enjoy the movies. I would say I enjoy the Marvel movies better, and I'm more familiar with the characters. But, you know, the DC movies have been fun too. And this Supergirl movie was fun, and I enjoyed it. Thank you, everybody, for joining, whether it's live, whether it's on a replay, whether it's on a podcast, Spotify, Apple website, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever. Thank all of you. Appreciate you sharing these, getting them out to more people. Appreciate you sharing the newsletter, getting that out to more people, growing the subscriber base, growing the community of people that want to enjoy life and enjoy it safely. Go out, make it a spectacular Sunday. Get that newsletter, and I'll be back and see you tomorrow.